Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Endangered by C.J. Box. This is book number 15 in his Joe Pickett, Wyoming mystery series. And quite frankly, it's the best book about rodeo buckle bunnies that I've ever read. I'll tell you that right now. So, Joe Pickett is our main character throughout books 1 through 15. I've got the entire Joe Pickett series up here. I will show it to you. It's up on my top shelf there. Right there, we've got all of them. And you know, they got great covers and great spines. The publisher's done a great job with the collection. We always review the covers first. This one's got a good cover. It's got our lone female walking down the lonely Wyoming road, which plays a part in the story. So let's get to it. Joe Pickett, our main guy, he's a game warden in Wyoming. That's why I love Joe Pickett. He's just a regular dude. Regular Western dude, just doing his job with his family. And in the previous 14 books, he's gotten involved in murder mysteries that happen out in the Wyoming wilderness. If you want to go watch any of the reviews of the first 14 books, just type in my name, Durfee, CJ Box, and those reviews will come up. I've left 14 previous reviews of this author's works. Go watch those. But we won't spoil any of those books. We're just going to talk about this one and this one. So, sage grouse. They're an endangered species. Someone has shot a whole bunch of them. And they've poachers have done it. And our game warden, Joe Pickett's out investigating that. And while he is out investigating these poached sage grouse, he gets a phone call from somebody saying there's been a beaten up girl. A young girl has been almost beaten to death and left for dead in the ditch to the side of the road. And they believe it might be Joe Pickett's adopted daughter, April, who is 18 years old in this book. Now, April has been in all the previous Joe Pickett books. He's got his wife and 3 daughters, 2 that are his own daughters and 1 that's an adoptive daughter. His oldest daughter, Sheridan, is in college. April is the adoptive daughter. She is 18. And then the youngest daughter, 16, is Lucy. And every time one of these Joe Pickett novels focuses more on his family than on extraneous murder mysteries, the story is just that much better. I like it when Joe Pickett's family plays an integral part of the plots, because I love every member of his family. I feel like I know them. And 18-year-old April, the adoptive one. Now, I was adopted as a young, if you followed my channel for any length of time, you know that I was adopted. And so I relate to the young orphan people that are in stories like Luke Skywalker, Jon Snow, Harry Potter. The list is endless, including young 18-year-old April. Now, when they first adopted April, she was a troublemaking kid. She was like a goth kid, like an emo kid, like the type of kid that would worship My Chemical Romance or something like that. And so she would just dress that way all the time. Well, then in the previous book to this, she changed. She had a change. She went from goth to cowboy to straight rodeo cowgirl, which was a dramatic change. And the reason she changed in that book, in the previous book, was because she started dating this character named Dallas Cates, who was a national rodeo star. And as I was reading the previous book to this, I was like, I wonder why, because that plot never really materialized in that book. I was like, why did C.J. Box set that up or introduce this new rodeo cowboy character in that book when it really went nowhere? And then I opened up this book and then I realized he was setting it up in the previous book for this book. Brilliant stuff. That's called foresight. And it was done great. Because as soon as I started reading that, I was like, oh, now I understand why the rodeo cowboy was in the other book. And so what happens is April has been almost beaten to death. She's been left in a coma by the side of the road. And now Joe Pickett and his entire family is distraught. They're like, oh my gosh, our loved one is going to die. She's in a coma. Do we pull the plug? I mean, it's very heart-wrenching. And you get to see that from each character's point of view, from young Lucy to Sheridan, the older daughter, to the wife, to Joe Pickett, even the best friend of the family, Nate Romanowski. He's got some thoughts and feelings on this too, and he enters. Now, Nate Romanowski is sort of like the Jack Reacher badass of the series. Joe Pickett isn't really a badass. He's just a regular forest ranger dude. But his friend Nate Romanowski is sort of the muscle behind it all. And so that character is reintroduced to the series because of this tragedy. And then we start to delve into who did this. Was it April, the former goth, now cowgirl? Was it her new boyfriend, the rodeo champion, the national rodeo champion? And that's who they think it is, because this boy has a history of... He's got a history that would suggest he could do this kind of thing. And so now Joe Pickett, the game warden, is convinced that the rodeo champion is the bad guy and that the boyfriend beat up his adoptive daughter. And so that is who he's focused on catching. Now, the thing is this boy has a lot of alibis. He got a lot of alibis. Ton of them. And we're not going to get into them because they're plot related, but he's got a ton of alibis. And even myself as the reader, I was like, no, it's going to be way too convenient if he is the dude that did this. And there we go. Then the mystery is off. The mystery is, and that's where we go with this. We get to, we are introduced to the rodeo scene, what happens with the rodeo scene, and the buckle bunnies, who are like all the hot cowgirls that follow the rodeo cowboys around. Sort of like groupies, like rock and roll groupies. They're called buckle bunnies. Everywhere that Joe goes to investigate this, they just call his previous goth daughter, now cowboy daughter, a buckle bunny. Hey, she was just another buckle bunny she was just another whore following a rock band. That's all she is. And then Joe takes offense to a lot of this. He's just like, no, I know my daughter, and she wouldn't have. Anyway, this ends up being one of the saddest, most dramatic and heartfelt books in the series, and I will say, so far, my favorite. And if you followed my channel, you know I have fallen in love with every single Joe Pickett novel. And for me to say, after 14 or something, the number 15 comes in at the top of the list, just as the one that I thought really delved into the lives of Joe Pickett and his family the most, which is the part of the series I love the most. So that's why it ended up being my favorite. And then it's just got parts in the story that make you tear up. And I enjoyed everything about it. It's a great mystery novel. And I've been obsessed with the Joe Pickett novels for a year now. I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more to review, and he's probably going to keep writing these. Anyway, I give Endangered 10 out of 10. If I could go higher, I would. But let's give Endangered 10 out of 10.